And I really, as much as I'm talking right now, I've actually done a full 180 on religion, meaning that like I think that whatever religion brings you closest to God is the best religion for you.
There's free will, but along the way there are certain milestones that will happen regardless of what you do. They are going to happen.
Yeah, I
You
like
get to
that. Yeah.
choose. You get to
Hmm.
choose how you get there. So you have free will. You have free will, except for those events are going to happen regardless.
I could not move. I was like, what the heck is happening? I'm awake, conscious, not moving, and I kept closing my eyes again, or thought I was, and it's just like, wake up, wake up, wake up. It was terrifying. It was probably 2 minutes of absolute horror.
That's true. You kind of
How
hit
do you
me
want me
with
to
the.
introduce you?
I mean, you. I don't.
I
I
mean, you're
don't
my
know.
boss,
I wouldn't.
but you're also a friend.
Yeah. I don't see it as a boss thing.
You are, but we're also
Okay.
friends. I think there's mutual respect. Maybe when we go into
Yeah.
work life, we put that hat on. But
That's so funny because I think for me, I just see you as a friend, and that's why it's so nice because you're on the sales side. So I'm like, technically, yes, there's like a hierarchy there, but I don't see it at all.
no,
Like
it's nice that I
uh,
don't report to you directly. I do, but I don't. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
that's kind of it's a nice little
It's
buff there.
been
Well,
it's been very nice.
this is Corey Fradin.
Oh, we're starting. Great.
Yeah, we're live. Gosh, work for a company called authors.io. We ghostwrite books for CEOs, executives. Yeah, you introduced me to the company, but also I think there's a lot of where we connect is on a spiritual side. And I think that's the very first thing we talked about was Darius, which
Yeah.
I think is so crazy. Whoa, why did I zoom in there? I don't like
I don't
that.
know.
I don't like that at all.
Check
Darius J.
check.
Wright though. Good OBE experienced man. For those who don't know, but we were in the gym.
Yeah.
And I think it was crazy because at the time the guy probably had, I don't know, but less than 1,000 people, right, in his group,
In the
like
course,
in the
yeah.
world or whatever. And
And
he's from
he's
Australia or
I
something.
was gonna say, yeah, he's in Australia. So the likelihood of two random people being in the course that live in the same area to go to the local gym, like infinitesimally small.
It felt like, again, talk about it was that was a moment for me. I was like, okay, that's not coincidence. It can't
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
It can't be. So, anyways, that's your introduction. I don't know how shit that was, or if that was.
it was great. It's actually it's a great that works for me because it's a great intro for how we met. It was just like we were randomly at the gym, and you know that, and then we just started talking, and it was like, whoa, I don't know if we cuss on here. What are the chances? You can edit out the cussing. What are the chances though that like
It's okay.
I don't know. Man, I can't. I'm having a hard time getting my footing right now. I can't tell what we're doing.
What are the chances? No, it was crazy. It was definitely. No, for me, man, I'd been so what you don't know, and I think I told you later on, but I was at a job that I really just could not stand, man. I think it served its purpose. I don't feel like I wasn't supposed to be there, but I do feel like something in me was kind of like, I don't know, pushing me to take that leap. And I think what's scary about that is my first time ever where I took a leap on my own. Like normally I waited till like the very last second, like till almost was pushed out, like till it was like I made a conscious choice to leave there and kind of go full time with where we're at now with you guys. But just even meeting you was a total. I throw it up to like a divine act, man, because I was sitting there praying about it. I was thinking about it. It was about 2 months probably straight of like I want something new. Like I want a new opportunity, and just the way we met. Like I had my daughter up. I don't normally have her up there with me. You said hello to
Yeah,
that. You're
yeah.
like, hey, you're so brave for bringing her up here. And I was like, oh, dude, I never bring her up here. And we just kind of, it wasn't even that moment. Like we talked
Yeah.
for a couple weeks probably after that, but then I asked you what you did. And you had you're like, oh, it goes right for CEOs. And I was like, well, I've never heard that answer in my life. That's cool. And then I happened to do lead generation, like dabbed in that a little
Yeah.
bit. And so you're like, oh,
Yeah.
let me connect you with my lead gen guy. And it just worked out, man, in a way that is so cool. It's so cool. I wrote it down. It's like one of my moments where I was like, how cool is that I found this job? And now it allows me to, work on this podcast. Like I have time to schedule interviews, which is amazing. But I also work with a company that I feel very aligned with, like on a spiritual level. I think both you and Corey Gladwell are just of the same mentality, and that's super special in its own way. Get to be around my baby girls. Like there's so many good things about it that it's cool to be here where I'm at. So I do want to like formally thank you in front of everyone.
Oh,
Although that's not where we're going, but it's been
okay,
great,
great.
man. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's so cool. Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah. I appreciate you. You're great. And it's okay, so to us meeting, once you start getting into the space and you start and shit like this happens and it starts happening more and more and more, like it's like it used to be, because when I met Corey, my business partner, best friend and business partner, his name's also Corey. When I met him, I was reading this book, The Celestine Prophecy, at the time, and which we talked about, which is all about like coincidences and when
read
you
it too, yeah.
bump into people, it's like not, it's never like there's always a reason for it, and there's lessons to be learned, whatever. And so when I met him and we had a ton in common and we hit it off and became friends like right away, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But then like the more the door opens, then it's like when you and I met, I was like, whoa, like it was the whoa was, instead of it being like a 3-day, like, whoa, that was it was more like a 10-minute, like, yeah, we were supposed to meet. There was a reason here. Whether it was just to like talk about OBE stuff, or it was really cool that now we can do work stuff together too. But I was like, either way, I was like, this is so. It just gets easier and easier. And then too, like the trusting becomes a lot easier. At least for me, because we've talked about this a little bit, but I was so cynical in terms of spirituality stuff, very closed off, and then opened the door for myself, kind of through like neuroscience, neuroplasticity, kind of influencing the subconscious, which led to like law of attraction stuff, which led to guides and reincarnation and past lives and the whole deal. But like every time something happens, it gets easier and easier to just trust, and then like it makes all of the rest of it more fun and more just kind of easy, and the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the whole concept of the show, right? These paradigm experiences, like they're, and it's not always one big moment. Sometimes it is that, right? It's this massive thing that you go, whoa. Sometimes it's a bunch of little moments. I think for me, it was a mix of a big moment and little moments, but this is part of that. Can I ask you, like, what is can you think of a paradigm experience for you where you're like, okay, like where you realized you were more than just your body? And you're like, okay, there's more going on than just what's going on here.
For me, it was super gradual. So there wasn't like one moment. It was a ton of little moments that just kept piling up to the point where I was until I was just like, this is just it. Like I was like, oh wow, this, like there was no because I know I have friends who have like had very, very real like
Corey Gladwell's had one of those.
I was gonna say, so yeah, like yesterday was, something, and then today it was like I had a very real experience that's now, impact me as I move through my day to day. For me, it was very gradual, and it's probably because I was so closed off going into it that I mean, I don't know if that's the reason, but I just know for myself it's very gradual. So again, it was like, and it came from a place of wanting to make money. So started my first business when I was 20, and more or less just ate shit for like 7 or 8 years, and it was just a slog. It was a lot of starting things and then failing. It was a lot of crying and driving in my car and just like screaming out of just so much pain, and so 7 or 8 years in, a bunch of different things were happening right around that time. But one of the things I did was, because I was hearing things about like law of attraction and like, oh, you can manifest this and that, and I would roll my eyes and like, that sounds like whatever. But I was like, but I'm fucking struggling, so I need to let me just try all the things. So I ended up coming at it from the side. I read a book on like the subconscious. It might have been called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by something, and that was talking about how to influence your subconscious. And I was like, this is interesting, because it came at it from like a more of a scientific approach. I'm like, okay, well, the woo-woo stuff I can't get into, but this is kind of let me try this out. And then that just, once I opened the door a little bit, I ended up opening the door to everything. So I was like, if this is a thing, then I have to entertain all these other things, which led into like taking law of attraction stuff more seriously, and then guides, and I was talking to psychics and the whole thing, and then just becoming more and more comfortable with it. And then things just started, the more things started to happen, like I was saying earlier, the more things started to happen, the easier I got to trust. And then it just kept piling up. And now I just manifested something the other day that was really cool. And do you want me to go into that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like the Chicago Marathon story. I think I was texting you about this a little bit.
I don't think... If you did, I forget. Sorry.
I wasn't paying attention. So sorry. I don't know if I told you, but I think maybe I was just saying like, hey, like I have a cool story to share. Like next time we get together, whatever. Long version. So I know someone who's run all the major marathons, and so there's like, I don't even know. There's New York,
there's
Chicago,
Psycho,
and I guess no. What's interesting is tangent. They got into it. They were like 300 pounds. They actually got into it. Literally, I think they were like three something. They got into it. You normally have to qualify for these, but there's a nonprofit option, and he ended up working with a nonprofit. He had a family member that he wanted to raise money for, or in honor of them. And so, anyways, he ended up running them while 300 pounds, and then he slowly, I think he's lost 100, 120, 150 or something.
This is the first instant karma I've felt in a while, where I called someone a psycho, and he's like this totally incredible
Great
human
person.
who's just doing yeah, just being a
just
good
trying
human
his
being.
best. Just trying his best. Yeah, you're talking shit on him. Anyway, so he was telling me about running them all, and for some reason, when he was telling me about the different ones, the Chicago Marathon just really stood out to me. I don't know why. I've been to Chicago. I've run 3 half marathons. Running a full has never really appealed to me. I've been to Chicago, awesome city, and going back hasn't really been at the top of my list just because there's so many other places. Big world. And yet, for some reason, the Chicago Marathon was just like, I don't know why, but I'm super called to doing this. So I just kind of put on my list of things I visualize, kind of the things I'm trying to manifest or things I am manifesting. And this was maybe back in the winter. And then, or back in like December, and then since then I've just been kind of visualizing it every night and kind of feeling what it feels like to be there, and then seeing the crowds and the sun shining, and I'm running through the city, and it's really cool. And that was kind of it, and just trusting that it was going to materialize, whether it was this year or whenever. And then maybe 2 weeks ago, we'll call it a month ago. A month ago, I was just kind of reading through how I phrased it to myself, and I was like, I'm running I run the Chicago Marathon via the nonprofit option. It was like the nonprofit option. And then in that moment, I was like, oh shit, I know someone that works at a nonprofit. I should reach out to them. I should just reach out. It was like a moment of insight where I was like, oh yeah, how did I not realize this sooner? Let me reach out to them. And so the next day I emailed them and I was like, hey, sorry. So that night I was like, oh, I should reach out to so-and-so. And I was like, I don't know. Let me see if they can even, the company's Livestrong, the nonprofit. So I reached out to my contact over at Livestrong. Back up a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's more to the story. So I'm laying in bed. I'm visualizing the Chicago Marathon. I have that flash of insight. Oh, I should reach out to, my person over there. So I wrote that down. I'm going to do in the morning. I'm like, let me just see if they even will offer that. So I went to their website to see what events that they sponsor, because they sponsor some and they don't sponsor others. So like they don't sponsor, I don't know, whatever.
Sure, I got you. Yeah.
They sponsored some, but not others. And they just so happened to be sponsoring the Chicago Marathon. I was like, oh, cool. And then I was like, I don't even know when the Chicago Marathon is. Because like some marathons happen, like Japan already happened, I think earlier in March or whatever. Chicago is in October. And I was like, oh, cool. So then like the next day I emailed my person over there and was like, hey, I don't know if, I don't know if the spot's already filled, but I would love to raise money for Livestrong. I'd love to run the Chicago Marathon this year. Let me know. And that was it. So this was like on a Monday. Didn't hear anything back. When it comes to law of attraction stuff, this is a tangent. When it comes to law of attraction stuff, and we've talked about this, like when you were making kind of the leap, like the leap of faith. And this has happened to me at least one other time in a big way. But in this case, every once in a while with law of attraction stuff, you'll get kind of a temptation, like a side offer. So like you're heading this way, and then the universe will say, I know you said you want to go that way, but just to see how serious you are, I'm going to throw a temptation your way to take you that way, just to see if this is something you actually want to do. So that happened with me. So I reached out to Livestrong on like a Monday. On like a Thursday, I have a friend reach out, and he was like, hey, the friend I haven't talked to in a while, but he was like, hey, I'm getting married soon. Here's the save the date. And I was like, oh, interesting. That's cool. When is it? It's the weekend of the Chicago Marathon. I was like, oh, what are the chances? Just a random weekend in October. It felt like the wedding itself. The friend is great, but we haven't talked in a while. We don't have to get too far into it. Regardless, though, I was like, the energies behind him. The Chicago Marathon, I felt a big pull, very excited for, but no proof, no reason to know I'd be doing that. The wedding invite, I felt a lot of guilt to go to the wedding. Not necessarily a desire to go, but a lot of guilt. Like, I should go. I've known this person for a long time. I should go. I don't really want to go, but I should go. Like, a big guilt thing. And again, the law of attraction stuff, just in my own experience, I found that like, one, when I'm feeling, sometimes when I get like intuitive hits, it can either be like, it's a bright, shiny idea, which is one thing, but also every once in a while, I'll have an intuitive hit that directly kind of opposes what I would normally do in a situation. Like, it's like, oh shit, I'm really called to go over there, but if I go over there, it might make this person upset because I committed to something already or whatever, but I know I need to go this way. Anyway, so this was a kind of combination of those things. It was like, fuck, I'm feeling a lot of guilt. I really want to do this thing over here, but I have no reason to believe it's going to happen. And I feel like this is a temptation. The universe is saying, okay, well, you can either do this thing you're called to do, or you can do this thing out of guilt. And that's fine. You have no reason to believe you're going to be doing the Chicago Marathon. I was like, fuck. So what I did, so I was like, no, I'm running the Chicago Marathon. So I ended up telling my wife, I was like, which we hadn't talked about this at all, because like this was all happening within like 3 days. I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm running the Chicago Marathon. I'm like, I know we haven't talked about it, but I'm just so you, I haven't been training for it. Just so you know, in October, let's just make sure, you know, we got things taken care of, because I'm going to be running the Chicago Marathon. She's like, what is happening? And then I told Corey, same thing. I'm like, hey, I'm running the Chicago Marathon. Like, you want to run with me? He's like, let's do it. And then I texted my friend the same thing. I said, hey, thank you so much for reminding me. The timing is crazy on this. I'm running the Chicago Marathon that same weekend, you know, but sending the registry and all this stuff. Which, for me, it felt like, it didn't feel like a lie. It felt like I know I'm running the Chicago Marathon. This feels like a very classic temptation. I know I'm going to be running the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah.
And so I texted him maybe on a Thursday, and then like jump ahead to the like next week, whatever. And I was just like working on something, and I was like, let me check my email real quick. And the person responded from Lipstro saying, hey, good timing. Someone actually just dropped out. We got a spot for you. And I was like, fuck it. And then so she emailed me on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was registered for the Chicago Marathon, and now I'm running the Chicago Marathon.
How cool, man.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you this, but this happened obviously last Friday. So a week from. So I have been manifesting in my visuals. I do it every single night. I even have a little checklist. It's this thing. I have it by my bed though, a version for my wife and I. I have like her name, my name, and I tell her, baby, you got to check it off just so I know you're doing it. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Because we both I need double power here.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't tell her what to visualize. She can do her own thing, but I'm just saying I want both of us to practice, because I want to teach my kids this. Like, I really want to like make it a thing. I've been visualizing the HubSpot signed quote. Okay, which is
really?
For people who don't know, this is like when we get a new client, it emails me and says your HubSpot quote has been signed or fully executed, whatever it is. So I've been emailing that.
I'm having that big reaction because I know how the story ends. This is great. Okay, keep going.
Specifically 3. Now I want to tell you this is me not lying. I was like 3 in a day. I want to do not just one deal. I want to do 3 in a day, and I want both of my bosses to email me. I visualized both reaching out saying, "Dude, holy shit, you're killing it!" Like something like that. And it was a visual of like both you guys doing that. It was the quote coming in, and I've been doing that for months. So probably since February. And so on that Friday, I got the first one in the morning, and I was like, okay. I was like, cool, got us in. Then someone I wasn't thinking about came back into the mix, got home, and very quickly was like, all right, I'm in, let's do it. Sent them the agreement, they signed. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, that's 2. And I was like, then there's this girl that hadn't gotten back to us, man. Like, she was in, but I'd been emailing her, like being professionally persistent, on the borderline of like being a psychopath, but also being respectful. And she hadn't gotten back to me. And I was like, okay, I got to give this some space. So I didn't email her all week. I got a little notification on my HubSpot that she'd opened the email, and I was like, oh, interesting. And I'm sitting there, I'm driving to Target, and I was like, that's interesting. And this is on my mind because I was like, okay, we're at 2. Is it possible to go to 3? And I'm in Target, and the next thing you know, I get that signature, and I was like, no way. Got 3, but not only that, the cool part was Corey Gladwell sent me a separate voice memo of just like, dude, like, just give me a congratulations. You know what I mean? Just that's awesome, man. Good for you. Yeah. And you did the same thing. And I was like, so we were already texting that day, but it was like, I don't know, just so crazy. And I just had this smile on my way home. Like, again, some people can throw that off as like coincidence. Just too many times it's happened to me now where I know like, no, it's not a coincidence. It may not happen exactly when you want it or on your time frame. But if you're consistent with it and you're like putting in the work, assuming like I was, I'm reviewing my calls, like I'm trying my best, like I'm really giving it my all. Crazy how that happened. And I told my wife about it too. And she's like, that's awesome. Like, that's just, that kind of stuff is, again, it just all adds up, right? This whole blue book right here, I have a bunch of those. So I wrote that one down in there. So anytime something like that happens,
that's super cool.
I write it down because I want 10 years from now to be able to look back and like, whether I'm at a low point or whatever's going on, I want to look back and like, okay, remember when that happened? And just kind of remind yourself, because it's easy to kind of, I don't know, push that kind of stuff off like,
Well, it's really cool because when you look back too, so like 10 years from now, you'll look back. I have a story on this point as well, but when you look back, you'll be like, whoa, the things I was manifesting were so small. They feel really big to you, but you're going to keep making bigger and bigger. You're going to keep like manifesting bigger and bigger things to where you're going to look back like, that felt huge at the time, but like, that was minuscule compared to what I'm doing now. Quick side note. Last month you had a wonderful month as well. Brought in a lot of clients. Last month I was visualizing you doing really, really well, and me coming out because like we at the office, I saw myself coming out of the office like you, I getting a notification that you brought on someone, and me coming out of the office being like, and you sitting over there and me being like, you're doing it, man, you're doing great. And so last month when you did so well, I was jumping up and down. I was so excited. I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you the visualization stuff, but like, yeah. So that's so cool. So for the
Awesome,
Chicago
man.
Marathon, what was so cool about it was, one, I'm really excited to be running the Chicago Marathon. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and to be raising money and the whole thing. What was really cool was just like it fucking and like the way it happened was really cool. Like where I was like, I feel like this is one of those things, and then I was like, let me make the hard decision in terms of choosing the path, even though I have nothing to say. Like let me tell my wife, let me tell Corey, let me tell my friend, like, hey, I'm doing this thing, even though I have no proof. I just know I'm going to be doing this thing, and so it was really cool when it happened. I was just jumping up and down because I'm like, I'm doing it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was super
That's
cool.
so cool. It's so cool. I want to do a little bit of a pivot here. I want to spend some time talking about religion versus spirituality. In particular, so it's funny. Everyone I talk to is like, just let it go. But I don't know why. I'm just being honest.
Okay.
It's hard for me. I'm trying to let it go. But I get these comments of people just like throwing out the demon word and just like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's so crazy that you could just, I know it consciously they're behind a keyboard and they're just like, number one, if you're a Christian or any kind of, and you just throw out some like fear-based or just, oh, you guys are so lost. Like these are demons coming through. Like talking about Betsy, for example, you've met her, like 100% a sweet human being.
She's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, just a good soul. And
Yeah.
if you've been in those moments and you've experienced being around Betsy in a session with her, it's all love. Like, I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Like, there's no negative vibe whatsoever. It so bothers me, man. A piece of me wants to go like, come on. I want to fight back a little bit, you know? Like, okay, what are you talking about? You're just sitting over there talking about, one, how's that a good look for you? Like, do you just want people to believe what you believe to feel better? I don't know. Anyways, it gets me riled up. You can tell.
Okay.
But I've had to kind of sit here and go like, okay, what is the difference or I feel like you'd be a good guy to have a conversation with about this. Like, I guess the benefits of it, the differences, maybe even on the spiritual side, like, because you talked about some woo, right? Like, there's some weird on the spiritual side too that definitely, it's weird, man. How else do you say that, right? Like, it's strange.
Yeah.
I was listening to this monk. He was like this ex-monk. And when you hear that guy talk, that to me is like, he's so grounded. He's so like, matter of fact, he's not talking. You hear that, he's like a good intro to spirituality, because it's like you hear the guy talk and you go like, okay, this guy's not coming across has any kind of like, just no weird energy. Like I said, he knows what he's talking about. At least he's coming across very confident. Talks about meditation. He's lived it. It's just a good entry point. But then there's the other side of it where you start hearing like people changing their voices and they're channeling something, right? And they're like, da, 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 and their voice is all crazy, and you're like, okay, I could see how that's kind of like, that's kind of strange for some people, at least to just kind of like as an intro. But then on the flip side, we got religion, and it's got its benefits. So I don't know. I just wanted to get your take. So like for me, when I was thinking about this, like religion is external. I wrote some things down here, but it's like the places of worship / showing. It's like an external thing is how I'm kind of viewing religion. It's like you go to this one place to church, right? And that's where you go. But it's also like your attitude and how your actions are to not only like your loved ones, friends, family, but like government, right? Obey the laws of the land. It's just like this external thing. And then spirituality is kind of internal. That's how I'm going. It's like one is fear of God. One is you kind of are one with God. Like you are a piece of God. What's your take on that? And or like, do you struggle at all like I do with that wanting to like point it out, or do you just let it go like everybody else I've talked to?
There's like 15 questions in there.
I know.
So I just wanted to, okay, so I'm just going to kind of chip away at it.
Yeah,
like an
just
elephant.
chip away.
I'm going to take one bite at a
away.
time here. What I was saying earlier, when I opened the door to some of it, I had to entertain all of it. Like if I'm gonna say,
It's a really good point, by the way. I like that.
Yeah. So thank you. So it was kind of like, okay, well, if I'm gonna be open to spirit guides being a thing, then I kind of have to be open to all things being a thing, whether they sound silly or not, whether they sound real or not, whether they sound cool or not, whatever. And that could range, and so that's ranged from like, okay, like if I'm going to entertain that influencing my subconscious is a thing, then I also have to entertain that crystals are a thing. Like I might as well, I have to give it all a fair shot. So demons is part of that. Side note, I have like 3 crystals now because I don't know if they're doing anything, but I got them and they look cool. So like, you know, so I'm open to it. So the demons thing is very interesting because like, yeah, when you start, the deeper you get into this, like this thing, like that does come up, especially if you're like on Reddit or you're on, like you look up different things and you're like, and then that, for me, that immediately puts me into fear. Like, I'm like, that sounds scary. You talk to like you look at various like spiritual people or you read various books and there's kind of different explanations. Like some people will say like, or like Darius talks about this with OBEs, whatever you put your attention to, you can create, you can have.
Yes.
And so if you are in a place of fear and you're looking and if you're in fear and you're focusing on more fear, you will create things to be fearful about. If you are in a place of fear and you're focusing on love and joy, whatever that you're visualizing, like you will move in that direction. Like I remember reading like a Deepak Chopra book a while ago, and he was talking about like karma, and a lot of people, because for myself for a long time, karma was this thing like what goes around comes around. And he was saying a lot of people say that a good way to look at it is more like a wave, like you are, or a path, like you are. Karma is you are heading in this direction, and so it's not that like you punch someone and now you're going to get punched. It's like if you're the type to punch someone, then you're heading down a path where there's going to be more physical violence in your life. You're heading down this path. It's not that because you did something you're going to get something. It's you're just
You don't
in
get.
that, you're
It's
heading in
not
that direction.
exact identical. What you
It's not
get, you get back. But
It's not tit for tat. It's you are a wave heading towards the sea or towards the sand. Whatever.
that's cool. That's a good way to look
Same
at
thing.
it. Okay.
At the same to that same token, like you could hit someone, but if you're like, hey, I actually want to change my ways, I want to head this way instead, you can do that. So how does this relate to demons? To circle a little bit further back. So like if you're in a place of fear, but you're focusing on love or joy, whatever you're visualizing, you will move in that direction. And so my personal take on it is demons aren't necessarily a thing. For the way this is how I see it. We're going to have to get into kind of a bunch of stuff. What I do know is if you're in a place of joy and you're focusing on more joy, you'll continue to have joyful things. Whether that's joyful help from your guides or the universe, whatever. My take on it is you're just going to keep heading in a path of joy and more joy, more love and more ease and the whole thing. If you are in a place of fear and you're focusing on things to be fearful of, you will have things to be fearful of. Where the demons come into it is like if you are open to like the other side being a thing, which is like a whole other side conversation, but if you're open to the other side being a thing, and if there's different like frequencies you can be on, then there are just going to be different entities hanging out in different spots. And so if you're in a place of fear and you're looking at more fear, like you're going to have things that resonate with fear come in and hang out with you. If you're in a place of joy, and it's not even like a good thing or a bad thing, it's just that's where you're at. It's not a judgment either way. It's just the reality is if you're in the way I think about it, if you're in fear, you're going to have things to be fearful of. If you're in love or you're focusing on that, then you'll have more of those things. And so I think when people, the way I see it, when I think about demons, it's just like low level energies, people just hanging out in the shadows versus people hanging out in the light doing the thing. That's my take on it.
That makes a lot of sense, man.
Because we talked. Sorry. I was going to say really quick for like because OBEs, Darius talks about when people pop out.
Yeah, he says that you experience like some beings right away, or at least your deepest fears is what he kind of talks about.
Exactly. Yeah, like you got like the demon hanging out in your chest, right? And it's like and so that's not something
Terrifying, by the way.
Terrifying. Extreme zoom in on you.
God, why did you do that? Stop it. Is it?
It was cool. No, it was good. It was dramatic.
Stop it.
It was dramatic. Away. It might be a camera setting. Regardless, and so that's not something personally I've experienced. And the OBEs are something that I'm still practicing myself and have kind of limited experience with. But I do know that like that's something they talk about, and I wonder how much of that is just like the place you're at. If you are fearful of that being a thing, and you're thinking about the thing you're afraid of, and then you're doing this thing, like it seems like there's a correlation there. That's my take on demons. Hit me with the question.
Do you think religion is needed right now? Like, do you think it has its place? Do you feel or like do you ever see us getting to a place where it's all spirituality, not religion?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Do I think it's needed right now? I think if people get something out of it, then it's needed. I think if people didn't get anything out of it, then it wouldn't be needed anymore. But as long as one person's getting something from it and they're getting a benefit out of it, that'd be like saying our restaurants. I don't know. It seems like, yeah, it seems like you can say that about anything like a restaurant's needed. Well, as long as someone's going to the restaurant and they're enjoying it, then they'll be needed. And when people stop going to the restaurant won't exist anymore. So I would say religion's the same way, whichever one people seem to resonate with.
I think very clearly I have some kind of issue. Maybe because I spent so much time being
Well,
in
you
a
grew up
religion.
religious. Yeah.
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 So I think I know that side very well. It's not that I have beef with it. Look, my family is very religious, and it used to bother me. Now I love them, and I really, as much as I'm talking right now, I've actually done a full 180 on religion, meaning that like I think that whatever religion brings you closest to God is the best religion for you. Like I'm a-okay on that. I guess I get irked when it's this fear-based, like that side of it really bothers me, always has, probably always will. And that's the kind of comments I get, like when you have someone like Betsy or Chandler, they're like, these people are so lost. Like you guys are talking about, I don't know, it bothers me.
Well, so it kind of depends on how you want to see it, because like if you say like, man, they're really religious, you guys are lost, but they're looking at you saying, man, you're really spiritual, you're really lost.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I don't feel
like,
that way about them. I feel actually like, okay, you're in your own little thing. I just think it's a weird move, dude, to try to convince someone by like that. Like I would never do that. I would never comment on someone's video and be like, you know what I mean? So I like the mindset behind. I'm like, that's just strange, man. It's a strange thing to do. I don't know. It doesn't win anyone over.
Well, we're talking about it.
Fuck, you're right.
But obviously, it's giving you something to work through. So it's good. I personally find religion like just fascinating. I didn't grow up religious, but I grew up very non-religious. I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was saying how I met one of her friends recently, and she was like, oh, and I was talking about some spiritual thing, and she was like, oh, you didn't know him 5 years ago. He used to be a very different person. So for me, I find I have a book. Sorry, I'm distracted looking for the book. I have this book. My parents, when they were in college, they took this course called Religions of the World. Here's the book. I found it. And my mom kept the textbook. Here's the book. It's kind of blurry, but
Religions of the World.
Religions of the World, but it's the third edition. So this book's like 30 years old or something, by Louis M. Hopf, and it basically talks about all the major religions of the world. What their essentially what their premise is, how they got founded, what they believe, and kind of how the religions have kind of spread at various times through history. Fascinating book. I find religion itself fascinating, whether or not like one particular belief set resonates with me. I find that generally like there's things like some things that resonate, some things that don't.
I think that's true. I think it's so true. There, like one thing I remember about religion that I really liked was the community aspect of it. I think it's inherently not in spirituality, because spirituality is an inner thing. That's what it is. Like, religion is like, to me, it's a system, right? And it can be used as a way of control for people. Not always, but that's kind of like how I kind of see it. It's like there's a lot of fear. Again, it's God fearing, whereas like spirituality is like you are God, like God. Then goes love with spirituality. It's like that is the answer. You are God. You are actually a piece of God. You are not like that Rumi quote I have on here. It's like you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in the drop. Like you, there's just it's
a cool quote.
It's deeply personal. Whereas that's where I never had those experiences in religion. Other than when we would get in big groups with like a bunch of people, there's something to that. Definitely. Like when music would be going, you're in this big group of people, everyone's singing the same song, the same lyrics. There's definitely a feeling that you get that is pretty special. And I felt that a couple times. But other than that, I think what I love about the difference is like spirituality is so personal, and it's like you coming face to face with like experiencing that oneness, and even if it's just subtle and like the little things that's kind of happened, like I've told you about my kind of out of body experiences, but there's been so many others, but it's just special. And I think I've come to peace with it. Actually, I like talking about it in this way because it's on my mind, I guess. But definitely, I feel like I've rounded the corner, because 5 years ago, Jordan was like
mad.
Yeah, I'd be pissed off about it. I'd be like, dude, don't come at me. Like now, I'm kind of like, man, I actually love Jesus. Like I think Jesus is great, dude. I actually think Jesus, his teachings were just butchered. I think he totally understood it. I think he got it.
There's a book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Have we talked about this?
I don't think so.
There's a book. It's a parable, so it's like a fiction book, but it's basically teaching you like a nonfiction lesson. Jonathan Livingston Seagull by I think it's like Richard Bach. The premise of the book is like there's this. It's about a seagull. There's a seagull, Jonathan Livingston the seagull. There's a seagull that like figures out how to be enlightened, and basically says like and tells kind of his friends and says like, hey everybody, I figured this really cool thing out, and they're like, oh cool, like show us what to do, and they start doing it, and then they become enlightened now, and then they start telling their friends, and at some point along the way, the people stop doing what Jonathan was doing to achieve it, and they start asking like, well, Jonathan, what's your morning routine? Like, what do you have for lunch? They start asking about like, they start deifying Jonathan instead of doing the things. So it's kind of like,
That's great. I see
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So instead of saying like, hey, I want to get really good at writing, so here's how I become a good writer. I'm going to start writing. It's more like, oh man, he's the best writer. I'm never going to be able to get as writer as him. Like what? But maybe I can aspire to be. So like, what do you eat for breakfast? Whatever. And so the book ends up, so it's more or less like this person becomes enlightened, he now has apostles, and then somewhere along the way, generations deep, now that Jonathan's gone and the apostles have passed on, whatever, everybody's now deifying Jonathan instead of just doing the thing Jonathan talked about. So when you mention that, it makes me think of that. But there's also a lot of other religions out there too. I know you talk about like Christianity, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of and they're all very fascinating.
No, I guess it definitely, it seemed like it had its place in time. I feel, it's my opinion, we are definitely moving into an era where it is a little more personal. And I think that's where, like, you could call spirituality whatever. It's just an act of going inward. That's all it is. Put whatever word you want on it, but it's literally sitting there in silence, understanding who you really are, and that happens through meditation. That happens through so many other methods, but I think we're going more towards that than structured religion. It's still in our government.
Yeah.
It's still in our like national anthem and all that, but I think we're moving slowly away from that.
You think you're going to take it out of the
Anytime.
anthem? Yeah, I don't know. I do. Yeah, it kind of goes back to the restaurant thing. As long as people want to go to the restaurant will be there. I also know like there's things to get out of it. Like for me, spirituality, like I said, was like, hey, my dream is to be an entrepreneur, to run a successful business. This is something I've worked towards for a number of years, and I'm just so called to it. And I'm gonna test out all the things. And so for me, it was a tool of achieving that dream and achieving that aim. And I still use spirituality as a means of achieving like these larger visions and these larger goals and dreams that I have. And it's really fun. And so for me, the kind of spirituality toolkit I've developed for myself and love learning about is like that's kind of the aim, is like to help me manifest these bigger and greater things, and also align them with my soul purpose, which I'm trying to refine more and more. So to your point about religion, like if that's someone's aim for religion, because like it kind of depends on what the intention is. If the intention is community, then you can get that in various religions.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of depends. If your intention is to have your prayers be answered, that there's different things for different people. I think it depends. Like for your intention, what is your intention behind spirituality?
It's a good question. Before I answer that, I think what happened prior to this was I read some comments and it riled me up and it gave me an unfair little like skewed me towards that. But when I look back at it, like my parents, for example, like my dad, I love my dad, man. He's a great human being. He loves people. He's someone, and my mom, that I would be like, I think it would be like, I would never want them to like ditch their religion. Like they're so far along.
Well, really quick too, I forgot one of the big intentions, maybe quite possibly the biggest one. The biggest intention is like the eternal salvation. Forgot about that major intention. I was like, maybe it's community, maybe it's giving back, and it's like, oh yeah, that's also
saved.
big. Yeah, to be saved. And so if that's also the intention, depending on which religion you belong to or you resonate with, then that could be the intention as well. So, sorry, keep going. So you're talking about
with spirituality, like you asked, what was the question? Was my intention with it?
Yeah, like for myself, how it helps me. The tool to achieve something much larger.
Man, so I've always been that weirdo. Like I think a lot of us have this question in mind, but I'm telling you, like I more so than others, I could tell. Like I always felt like I didn't fit in with people, I guess. always wondered, like, what's the purpose? Why am I here? Like, I had those thoughts since I was a little guy. Like, I just always questioning things. Um, as I've gotten older, and like it makes sense that what I'm doing now. Actually, I feel very called to do this. So like, I'm obsessed with that. And so spirituality is the first time I ever felt something and felt connected to myself and who I really was. And where it all made sense was through this. I had no intention of following this and actually found it through being at rock bottom. I mean, that's like a lot of people. I mean, I hit rock freaking bottom. And, I thought I was cocky like when I was 18. I'll give my story briefly, but I basically was raised religious, was a Christian all throughout high school, didn't drink, didn't cuss, nothing. Like I had great friends. I had a great time, had a great high school. Um, it was an awesome era for me. No worry. Like friends were always at my house. Like my house was the place to hang out. We had good, wholesome fun. We weren't out there like partying and drinking and doing anything crazy. I started to slip, I think my senior year, just a little bit. Like I drank once and I remember my friends thought it was so crazy because the whole time I'd never been that guy. Um, messed around with women a little bit towards the end there, which was a no. I felt horrible about it, by the way. Horrible. Uh, really fell in love with some girl. She broke my heart. It was the first time I really cared about someone. That was the table set for me going into college. And so going into college, I had fallen out of religion. Basically, I was kind of like, yes, it doesn't make sense. I tried my almighty hardest. And even while I was there in it, I got to tell you, I was always the guy asking questions like, but why this? Why that? It just never quite sunk in. But I liked my group of friends. I liked the people I hung out with, and my whole family is religious. So it just kind of made sense. But as I, got a little more freedom, definitely started to like, just curious. So check this out, check that out. Got into college. I threw the baby out with the bathwater. Right? I said, all right, I'm not buying this religious thing. I was kind of like my first year, freshman year, I was like in and out. Like I was kind of still in it, not really. Trying a lot of things. I was going to parties. I'd experienced Adderall for the first time. Wow. That was for me like, whoa, what the heck? I hadn't taken anything, no drugs, nothing. And went on a whole bender on that. Went super deep. I won't go through the whole, but like did everything and anything I was told not to do. And, about fourth, fifth year of college, I was like really freaking sad, like very depressed. Kind of just like, what the hell is the point? Like, I don't understand. Like, if I definitely didn't believe in God at that point, definitely didn't think religion was real. Like, I logically was like, no, there's so many religions in the world. There's so, like, just didn't make sense. But then being on this side, doing all this stuff, indulging in all my, like, whether it be women, drugs, you name it, I was bummed out, man. And I was like, God, that's horrible too. And so it left me very confused. And so when I got out of college, I'd met my wife. So at that point, I started to, like, curb a little bit and, like, but first job, I got to travel all over the world. I firsthand went to Thailand. I went to China. I went to all of these places and I saw these different cultures live, front and center, not off like a YouTube video. And I was even more convinced that like, no, there's no way that one religion is the truth. And so it kind of left me in this limbo of like, I don't know what the deal is, but almost like there's no point, kind of like I was in that land for a while.
Yeah, nihilism is scary.
It is. I think it's the worst place to be where there's no point to anything.
Yeah.
I think if you find yourself in that, you need to start turn around. I don't know what you need to do, but
It's a scary place.
it is. And so I hit rock bottom because at that time I was investing in crypto, all these other things, lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was taking a lot of substances called kratom is one of them. Hit rock bottom. My wife was 9 months pregnant. It just all came to a head, right? In this crazy big moment where I'd lost everything we'd had right before my daughter was born, lost my job. And I was just kind of sitting there like, what did I do? Who am I? Like this, like I just was so upset with who I was and what I'd done and disgusted. And that was my starting point for this whole journey. And so that was the first time in a long time where I'd sat there and said, I don't know if God is real, then like, can you show me? Like, I don't even know how I asked, but I remember praying because I hadn't prayed in a long time. It's been a while since I'd really sat there and prayed. And yeah, man, it was a slow. I think the very first thing I started seeing was NDEs on YouTube. Like that started popping up on my channel, which is why I have such a like. That's why I still want to do those interviews today. Started watching NDEs. Something about it felt right, man. Something about it felt right. not only the life review, but just like the fact that, you know, there was NDEs about Jesus and Buddha. And like, to me, that made sense. I was like, oh, of course, like whatever you're into, you're going to see that. It's not about the religion. Like there's so many other gods and there's so many other, it's all one God, but there's so many other ways to live and experience things. And to hear that life is, this is a school kind of, that's the best word for it because it's about lessons. But to hear that that is like the kind of the point, and you're here to level up your soul, and you're here to, like, you can tell someone to ride a bike and what that's like, but until you actually ride a bike, like you're not going to know what that experience is. And so that just made a lot of sense to me. Like, oh, and then of course, the only way to experience something and really believe that you're in that experience is to not remember who you are. So the amnesia part of it made a lot of sense to me. I heard someone say like once on a VR, like let's say VR headsets got so good that it's indistinguishable, right, from reality. And let's say you want to experience what World War II is like. So you go there and you're there, right? And it's real. I mean, everything about it is real. What's the one thing though that's holding you back? Well, you know that you're on a VR set. So you have to forget that's what's keeping you from really having fear on the beach, right? Or really having, like, that is what's holding you back. And so that just made so much sense to me. Like, of course you can't remember, because if I knew who I was right off the rip, I wouldn't, you don't get that purity of the experience.
Yeah.
So it just kind of all made sense to me. And then I started to be like, okay, there's a lot of weird stuff in this world, like the channelers. But then, like you said, you kind of have to start entertaining things. So those first NDEs, I think next, the logical one was OBEs. And I saw so many comments of these people like actually being able to go out of their body. And then I bought that book. I think what's it called? Beyond, or it's by Robert Monroe. I forget the book title right now, but he has the Monroe Institute, right? And then I looked up the CIA, and there's that whole
The Gateway, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Gateway
a whole
program,
thing. And
Gateway
then
experience,
the
yeah.
more you kind of look into it, you're like, huh. And then you're seeing all these comments. You're like, there's no way all these people are just making it up. Like, there's so many comments about people saying, no, I've been leaving my body since I was a kid. And then I remember that one time when I was in high school where I had a sleep paralysis, and I woke up. I will never forget it. I remember woke up and I'm looking. I don't know if my eyes were open or not, but I couldn't move. Freaked me out. I could not move. I was like, what the heck is happening? I'm awake, conscious, not moving. And I kept closing my eyes again, or thought I was. And it's just like, wake up, wake up, wake up. It was terrifying. It was probably 2 minutes of absolute horror. And then I finally was like able to walk out. I remember calling my buddies, because again, I'm religious at that time. And I was like, dude, I think a demon was like, I don't know, in my room, because that was my first like paranormal kind of experience, because I was sitting there and not only could I not move, but I felt something in the corner. Very hard to explain, but if you were me in that body, that you felt a presence, and I couldn't move my head to look at it, but damn, I felt it. And so that whole thing was like, I thought it was a demon. I was like, and so I blocked that out of my memory until, picture this, 2022, right? And I'm like sitting there learning about OBEs, and he said that when you get close is when you have sleep paralysis. I was like, what the hell is sleep paralysis? And I was like, oh, that's what happened. That's what it was. It was sleep paralysis. I had woken up out of my consciousness. My body was asleep. My consciousness was awake. And so learning that about Darius, and then you kind of know the story, but I'll tell it. So I got into his course, right? He has a little course where he teaches how to do it. I just like the way the guy spoke about it. He's very matter of fact. He's not trying to convince me that it's real. He's just like, look, dude, I've been doing this since I was 8 or whatever it was.
Sorry to interject. He does a really
go,
good job saying. He does a really good job saying, like, back to the Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He does a good job saying, like, hey, I'm going to say a bunch of crazy shit. It's going to sound crazy. Don't take my word for it. I'm going to teach you how to go find it yourself.
Yes.
You go see it and verify it, etc. Keep going.
I love that about Darius.
I like that approach. It's a good approach.
So it got me, whether or not that's his tactic or not, right? It's hook, line, sinker. I was like, I like this guy. Anyways, got in the program. I started seeing all these people who were like, getting close. And I was like, and then there's another girl on, it's called Mind Valley. Obviously the channel's massive, but she was the producer, or at least she was the collaborator, the expert behind, it's a Netflix show called like Behind Her Eyes or something like that, which is basically kind of about remote viewing. It's if you haven't seen that yet, Corey, I'll send it to you. It's really good. But she was brought in as kind of like an expert to make sure it was like super real, because she apparently can do it too. She can leave her body. She does all the time. She teaches people. So her version, the reason this is important, because she talked about a vibrational experience. She was like, her thing was like, you will hit this, a lot of people hit this vibrational experience. And Darius didn't talk about that as much. So the reason I bring that up is because Darius, in his thing, it's like you shut your body down, and he kind of has this whole process with binaural beats, and but for people listening,
Yeah.
you shut your body down and basically your consciousness is awake. Once you get there to that point, he said it's going to feel like dying because you're normally, you do this every night, but you're unaware of it, right? But if you're aware of it, your heart slows down. Like you almost feel like you're sinking in. It feels like you're dying is how he describes it. And once you're in that spot, he says you can kind of roll out of it. It kind of has this technique where you can roll out of your body. The first thing you do is verify it's you. You turn around, you look at the bed, see yourself in the bed, and then he's like, you get out of there, right? You go to the nearest door and you walk. The other girl talks about you hit this vibrational experience. And so for me, I had that vibrational experience. And so the very first time it happened to me, well, let me just backtrack. 2 weeks prior, I thought I hit it. At this point in my journey, I'd been doing meditations, but just very sub level, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. Gotten pretty good about leaving my thoughts to the side, right? Like I was like, okay, so meditation wasn't super weird to me. I'd woken up, it was like 2 a.m. I went downstairs. I was like balls deep in trying Darius's method. Was sitting down, basically, and Darius says if you wake up and you remember your dream, you're very close. You're in a good state. And so he says to get up. Sometimes he suggests get up, walk around, sit down, and try to go back into it and try to, again, mind awake, body asleep, mind awake, body asleep. So that's all I was doing. I was like sitting down, mind awake, body asleep. And I thought I felt it 2 weeks prior. I was like, oh, excited. I was like, I think I hit the vibrational state. No. Let me tell you right now, you too, Corey, because I know you're trying this. When you hit it, you will know. You will know. It was this, the way I could describe, a cellular level. It felt like it was coming from the absolute center of my being, and it started going to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. And I remember I'm thinking as this is happening, it was like, it starts vibrating. I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. First off, I'm tripping because it's one thing to kind of like see all these comments and kind of, but now it's happening. And so I'm like, oh no. So I'm kind of getting scared because then my next thought was like, I don't want to see any demons, you know? I was like, I know my mind telling you right now, I'm going to have to conquer that. It's going to be the first thing I'm going to have to battle is like getting whatever my brain goes through. So start getting a little scared. I was like, okay. And I just sat in it for a second and it just got so intense, so intense, so intense. And I ended up, I wouldn't open my eyes. That's the first thing. So I was like, I'm not opening my eyes. And I went for the lean up method. I went, okay, I'm going to try it. And I leaned up and I remember feeling my body literally floating. Eyes are closed because I'm way too scared to open them. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to open my eyes, not going to open my eyes. Floating. But let me backtrack because it's really important. Right before I did this, I heard a snap. It sounded like a tree snapping, a very loud snap.
What's happening?
And I was like, whoa. Went up, was the floating. When I finally got brave enough to open my eyes, I was actually above my house. I was like overviewing, like it was like I remember 2 kids on a seesaw. I was like overlooking this park kind of, and then in the distance were these houses. It looked kind of like Greece a little bit, but I remember being like, oh, okay, I'm not in my home, but I'm definitely like I'm dreaming. I think this has got to be a dream. And I was like, well, then I could do whatever I want. And so I remember I zoomed over to the houses, saw some women there, and then I woke up. So it was very kind of quick how that happened. Didn't get to do much else as far as like explore or do things like that. But that experience, like after that, I woke up and then I was in my home downstairs and I was like, what the heck just happened? That was crazy. But that whole experience, very conscious. So like when I woke up, I knew where I was. I knew I just had that experience. I texted my buddy about it because I told him I was trying this. I was like, dude, I wasn't in my house. Like I didn't verify, turn around, see myself. But that was nuts. I'll save everyone the story, but had that exact same experience, different dream, maybe about 2 weeks later, very similar. When I felt it this time, I was upstairs, felt the vibration come on again. I was like, okay, here we go again, and did the same thing, did the rollout, but I never managed to be in my home. It always launched me. That one I was in a barracks, like a military barracks, and there's cots of people sleeping. I remember I went over to look at a guy sleeping. He didn't have a face. It freaked me out. There's a door on the barracks, went to the door, opened the door. It launched me into like a library, basically. I was in a library. There's a desk. I went over to the desk. As soon as I sat down at the desk, I woke up. So again, nothing crazy, but again, very conscious of like what I was doing in that dream. And those are kind of my 2 OBE type experiences. At the very least, launched me into a lucid dream. And then there's so many other cool things that happen after that. But that's a big part of like my journey and why I started to believe that, okay, I'm definitely more than my body. like, although I hadn't done it in this physical world yet, I'm pretty sure it's part of my journey that I'm going to do that. Very, very transformative. I mean, a very big moment in my life. So I have no idea what we're talking about. I just kind of went into my journey there. But
Yeah,
that's
it's great. I'm excited.
yeah, that's part of the old journey here for me. So
You brought up something interesting, which is if we came here to forget, why are we able to do this? Why are we able to do the OBEs or the lucid dreaming at all or manifesting? Why are we able to figure that out if we're here to not remember that at all? If we're here to come here with a fresh slate, why are we able to even pop out or go to the other side or communicate with loved ones, or why are mediums a thing? I've been thinking a lot about that. I have some takes on it.
it's such a great question. You and me have actually talked about that before, but like what? Because I think Darius calls it the great work. It's like coming back and having people wake up. But I was like, if that's the point, why?
Why did we come here to forget then?
Yeah.
So my thinking is, and this is something when I met with Betsy, because I asked her that question too, like if we come here to forget, why are we able to have these conversations with loved ones or that have passed or do the OBs, whatever? And her take, I'll kind of paraphrase. It was like, we never came here to necessarily forget. We just kind of have lost touch with it over time, like lifestyle and stuff. My take on it is kind of like this. I played a lot of Pokemon as a kid. I sent you a voice note going into this. It was super rambly. I'm going to try and be really concise this time. How are we doing on time, by the way?
I'm good. It's but if you got to go, I'm good.
No, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So I played a lot of Pokemon as a kid. I played Pokemon Red on the Game Boy, and when you play Pokemon, you can have like one save file. So you start a new game, and you play as your character. I called my guy Ash because that's what he was in the cartoon. That's what his name was. And you just go through and you play the game, whatever, and you save it, and then you turn it off and you go about your day and you come back, and when you turn it back on, you push continue and you keep playing. The whole time I know I'm in a game though. Like I know I'm playing a game. It kind of feels like that's how, but like if I'm playing Pokemon for the first time, I know I'm playing a game, but I don't know what's and I'm controlling a character, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I'm sending my character through the wilderness and the catching the different thing and then the battles and all the stuff, but it's all new for me, and I'm going on this very unique experience that and it's a whole world I can go explore, but I know it's a game. It kind of feels like at some point along the way, I forgot that I was playing a game, and I just started to identify with Ash in the thing, and like I forgot that. But like that was never the intention. The intention was like, hey, I want to go have this experience. I've heard good things about the game. I want to go play. I want to go explore this world. But at some point, I forgot that I was just a save file. And so my thinking is kind of like, even with reincarnation, it's kind of like you just push a new game and now you get to play it again. As the game player, I know that I've done it before, but I'm going to explore some new stuff this time. But again, it's almost like we forgot that there was a player behind it. And so that's my take on it. So it was like we never necessarily came here to forget. We came here to learn certain lessons, to have certain experiences, to explore this forest this time or that cave this time, or to have whatever lessons you want to learn. But not necessarily. We didn't necessarily come here to forget that we were playing a game. We just came to forget what happens if I go into this cave, or what. Like you want to push a new game and not identify with it being a new game, but you want to identify with like, oh, I don't know what happens if I go and talk to this person, or I go and talk to that person because I want to have new experiences. Is that less rambly than the voice note I sent you?
No,
the voice note was like 6 minutes of me trying to figure this out.
I love it. I love that theory.
That's my take.
Also, if the goal is love, right? If that's not just love, but like love yourself, like love all of who you are, the bad, the good, love other people as yourself. Like the goal is love. If it's about like bringing heaven to earth kind of scenario, like if maybe that's the experiment, is like, can we figure out how to do that? It would make sense that you would, like, part of the waking up is like, here's part of the equation we're missing: how many times we've been on this slide. Because if we've been here 2,000 times, like maybe it really is a long journey. And so after 2,000 lives, like it's so hard to remember who you are. Like only an old soul can do that. But like only it takes a lot of lifetimes for you to like go through and go like, hey, what is the point of this? And then wake up and be like, oh, the answer is love, because that changes who you are, right? When you realize that you are love, that it is love, it changes how you act, and that changes it's like a ripple effect in a calm lake, right? Like it starts affecting everyone around you. Like you and I are not even close to that. Like the people that
you and I we're not even close to enlightenment. We're
I
so
mean, like the people that like, if you've talked about like these masters on Earth, right, that are like so gnarly, where like if they touch you, like that kind of stuff, where like they're so in
yeah.
love, or being with them. I heard this podcast where he was talking about, I don't even know who it was he was talking about, but he was saying that he had this ability in this thousands of people surrounding him. It's like this ancient yogi guy. He's alive today, so I don't know why I can't remember his name, but he's saying when he met him for the first time, he had this ability that it almost like froze time. And although there's a bunch of people around him, he's like, I'm telling you, I've never experienced anything like it. Like I walked up to him and he gave me this, and like he was like I was the only person on the planet. His ability to focus on me and give me 100% of his attention was so unique, unlike anything I'd ever felt. And although he had all these people around him and he was saying hi to other people, and like it's like when I saw him, it was like, whoa, it was like a very spiritual experience. And or people talk about being in a presence like that, and they say you can feel that. Like that is real enlightenment. That's why I say you and me are like, we're still kind of like, I think I know who I am, but like we're talking about it.
Yeah. We're working through it.
I think that could be the point too, is like figuring out, and it takes a long time to wake up. And so that's why you do wake up, is like there's this experiment that we're trying to bring heaven on earth, and it's about waking up, and there's other levels to this. It's not like this is the end goal for earth. I think there's so many other, I think there's more places we can go, and I think we've been there before and we've messed it up, is what I'm trying to say. Like this whole Atlantis thing. Like I think we've gone this path before. I think AI and stuff is not new. I think it's probably a path that it's almost like inevitable. It kind of gets to that, and then that goes a certain way. And we're at a very interesting time, because they say, when I say they, it's like everyone you talk to who's experienced and talked to the other side, they talk about this being a very special moment in time where it's like kind of all the rage. Like if you're here right now, you wanted to be here right now. It was kind of like there's not enough space or enough bodies on earth for everybody to experience this. And so if you're here, you're actually very lucky, and you kind of won the lotto in that sense, where there's this massive change going on. And just think about our lives and how much has changed since I was a kid to now. And I'm only 33. The amount of change in the next 30 years is going to be unheard of because of AI. I mean, this is a very special time. And so we all came in with kind of our game plan of like how we're going to help. That's part of our life plan. Maybe me doing this podcast is part of what I signed up to do. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Right. But I think that's pretty exciting too. It's like, I don't know if that answered it, but that's kind of my take on maybe why we wake up, is because it's a part of the game to then wake up and know that there's more, and that can take you to another level as far as like where humanity goes. That's kind of special.
I wonder too, like I'm kind of the belief that like, and like Darius talks about this in his thing, like where there's free will, but along the way there are certain milestones that will happen regardless of what you do. They are going to happen.
Yeah, I like that.
You get to choose how you get there. So you have free will, except for those events are going to happen regardless.
Yes.
Because you talked about like creating heaven on earth, or like the goal is love. My kind of take on it is like the goal for us is like we're here to have these milestones, to have these experiences. Why I don't know why we set different ones for ourselves, whatever. But I do think that part of the reason potentially for waking up is to remember how easy and fun it could be along the way. The milestones, they could be wonderful things. They could be whatever. They could be anything.
Like me losing that, like could have been a milestone. Like that could have been pre-planned, where I lost everything, hit rock bottom. That was when I was supposed to.
I think so. Or and they could be great things too. Like me and Corey meeting, or like the way I met my wife. Like I think there are some awesome things that are going to happen regardless. I wonder if part of the reason for waking up is to remember how easy and fun it could be, because it's like, no, you actually have like a superpower. You can manifest all this great stuff while you're experiencing things and having lessons and improving and growing as a person, as a spiritual person, and all that stuff. But it can be really easy and really fun along the way. So I wonder if it's something like that.
And this is the only way to experience real faith, right? Is like when there's hurdles to, like when you're on the other side, it's apparently like you think it's there. And so faith to me down here is like, okay, having faith in like shit's not working out for me right now, but I really do believe, and manifestation's slower here. And so it does require a certain level of faith, like that you are more than your body, that you are actually like what you it's not, if it was instant like that, it would be so easy. There'd be no faith. It'd just be like, oh yeah, of course I am, because I can do whatever I want here.
It might be, yeah. Well, yeah, because if you're everything, if you're all the things, then like it could get kind of boring. So the nice thing about time is like it gives you time to like want it, or to work towards it, or to feel the different things along the way, as opposed to getting it instantly. I would to put a quick note in it, I wouldn't say that like manifesting things is slower here. It's just not instantaneous. Although it could be. I don't want to, because like
No, you're right. It's not that everything takes time. There's just more.
there is time, but there is time here. That's the thing.
There's more friction. Like there's more. There's billions of people, so there's more things in the way. So like you manifesting whatever it is you're trying to do, the bigger it is, I think sometimes it just can take a little bit for the universe to kind of make that happen, I guess. Or I view it as like I have 33 years of certain thoughts, right? Of just like pretty automated. So that's a lot of thoughts that are at least majority of them geared towards a certain way. And so that's that many years of the universe giving me that back. And so just because I've done something for 6 months, it doesn't just erase the 33 years of whatever. Like I could have gotten relationships that I'm in now because of those thoughts, and I could have gotten jobs and where I'm at because of that. And so just because I changed it recently doesn't mean it's just boom.
It goes back to like the karmic wave thing, because like you talked about the all the people on the planet. I don't for myself, I don't feel like that has anything to do with it, but I think a good way to a good way to represent it would be like the karmic, that wave you're on. So if you're heading down a path that's way over here and the thing you want is way over there, you're gonna have to change some things to move over there. But if you're already heading on this path and that thing's already in that line, then it's gonna be that much easier.
Yeah,
whether or not there's 1,000 people or 1 billion people or whatever, I think but I agree. Like I know there's so much, and this kind of goes into like neuroplasticity. I know there's so much rewiring for myself that I've done to kind of align things in a way where things happen easier and there's more trust now, and that's kind of goes back to like the gradual ramping up with time.
Makes it fun, right?
It is fun.
Makes it fun.
It's fun.
Well, I kind of like where this went today. I mean, it started a little me talking shit on religion. I didn't mean it. I think now I feel like I vented a little bit, so I feel better. I don't think wherever you're at is a-okay. I really feel that way.
I don't think you were talking shit. I know you said you've moved on from it. I feel like you're still I think you're still actively kind of working through it. I think some of the heat has died down. I think you've cooled off over the period. But I think you're still actively working through it, and I think that could be part of this as well. Like
I was reading comments right before I hopped on this, so I think that's definitely where it stemmed from.
Well, yeah, and because at some point those comments won't bother you. I mean, mean comments are painful in and of themselves, but at some point, like just talking about religion, there will more than likely come a point where you're like, oh, I see the pros to that, I see the cons to it, and it just won't bother you. And so my guess is you're still kind of working through it in whatever, even if it's in a small capacity.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man.
So on that note,
I feel like we always have good talks, though. Like Corey and I actually, we go get coffee together. We sit down and we just talk about this stuff because it's fun for us. So
it's fun. Last time we went on a hike, went on a walk. It was all good. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. Okay, well, I guess I'll see you at work, at the gym, or wherever. See you on a hike or something.
I'm heading there right now, so I'll see you soon.
Yeah? Okay, man. All right, bud.
See you.
All right, cheers.
Bye.